Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Supporting a Feeling Life. My name is Jonathan.
I'm Yasmin.
Today we want to talk to you about anxiety to calm. How to recognize anxiety in your life and how to take positive and clear steps and how you can move towards a space of calm.
When we feel anxious, our mind becomes very busy, becomes very active, and we look for mental answers and solutions which won't always meet the need or resolve the feeling that we have. So anxiety can be felt really strongly in our body with adrenaline, with feeling a bit nauseous, not able to rest or relax, not able to eat sometimes, and certainly not able to sleep fully.
I think we need to also kind of look at the context of anxiety, because most people end up being diagnosed with anxiety, and it becomes this thing, this other thing that is sort of almost separate to you. Anxiety is a feeling. It's a very strong feeling, and it tends to be centered around your solar plexus. It's where your adrenal glands sit. And anxiety is a part of who we are as human beings. It's when we don't listen to what anxiety is talking to us about that we end up in the greatest tangle, and the actual adrenal energy that comes with anxiety sets us into this kind of fight or flight mechanism inside of ourselves.
Anxiety can also be the result of not really listening to yourself, not really fully acknowledging how you feel about things and overriding that mentally, or simply not doing what you know you need. And when we don't answer ourselves, when we don't look after ourselves or listen to ourselves well enough, then we tend to cause ourselves stress and tension and anxiety around the things that we feel.
Both Yasmin and I see it a lot with our clients, where they'll present with anxiety, and the anxious feelings become very dominant in their life. As mentioned already, it'll affect their sleep. It affects so many areas in a really quite destructive way at times. But when they're encouraged to really listen to the feeling, often what they begin to connect with, what they really need, doesn't fit within the sort of the mindscape of what they believe they're allowed. And it doesn't always fit around sort of the social conditioning, what they think they should be expecting of themselves. So anxiety can actually be a bit of a gift when you begin to understand it might be directing you towards a different way of living that is actually much more aligned with your heart and soul.
It is actually a spiritual alarm system, and it's really there inside of us to speak loud enough to get our attention. Because if we're not paying attention to those more subtle feelings or intuitions, and we just decide to work it out mentally, take control of things physically, then this energy gets loud. It gets so loud that it will cause you to feel uncomfortable, to get you to stop, to pay attention, to do what you need, which could be to talk to someone, it could be to resolve something, to rectify something. And of course, if we ignore all of this, our world would get very small, and we'd be focused on trying to control things as much as possible, or control others, situations, and we could become a little bit myopic, so that often those with anxiety are focused on themselves more than others.
It may sound a bit harsh, but basically anxiety makes you selfish, because the fear inside is always kind of looking for validation and justification of why it should be feeling that way. And because we tend to be very outwardly focused, you've heard us talk about this before in our talks, we are pulled into the world. We wake up and we're pulled into the world. We tend to measure our experience according to the feedback we're getting from the world as well. And what anxiety asks you to do is it asks you to take some time to really slow down and give yourself permission to really acknowledge what you're feeling. I had a client recently who could not understand why they were feeling so anxious, and when we explored a little more deeply into some of the things that had been going on in their life, they were quite surprised to actually acknowledge just how much they had been coping with over a period of time. But their sort of mental state, what they expected of themselves, continued to tell them they should be fine, and it was silly that they should be feeling that way. And so immediately this battle was established inside, where I love what you said before, Yasmin, the spiritual alarm system that anxiety can be was trying to express the deep distress that certain things that have been going on in their life had caused. But the mental state, the kind of the programming, I suppose you could say, of what they'd learned to tell themselves, who they thought they should be by now, certainly didn't fit the way they were feeling. So we want you to take this talk and really take a moment to really listen to where anxiety impacts on your life. And we all feel it, we all experience it, whether it is in the middle of the night or in the feeling of confrontation. That's one of the most obvious ones, where people don't always recognize anxiety because they immediately fall into trying to please people, and they lose their center and take their path down a direction which is actually about navigating other people's energy.
So you may feel bad about the feelings of nervousness or fear, anxiety that you have inside, and so you try very hard not to be anxious, which can lead you around and around in circles. Because again, if we answer this anxiety and we really let ourselves recognize that in our world, especially now, there are always things that can cause us to be concerned, to feel anxious. COVID-19 is a good example. So people can feel very anxious and nervous about catching the virus and act in such a way that they are very fearful.
The converse effect of that is that people feel fearful because there's a certain element of lack of control that occurs when big events occur, and that fear gets translated into needing to know things. And so people can end up wanting to gather knowledge and information because they need to know to stay in control. They need to feel like they have to do something. That's another way anxiety will act, is that, I mean, it basically makes people buy toilet paper because they feel they have to do something to respond to this feeling inside that's starting to feel out of control around something that's going on in their life. We see, obviously, there's much more sort of outspoken acknowledgement of the amount of sort of information that isn't actually good for us that gets distributed online. And it's very important that you are not engaging in things just for the sake of knowledge without checking to see what's driving that need for that knowledge.
Because anxiety to understand what is the truth out there in the world, excuse me, however you perceive it, isn't actually really helpful. We have to always pause, take a breath, check in what feels right to us. And if information in the world that is in conspiracy or the latest meme on Facebook really causes you uncomfortable feelings, it's important to look at what that discomfort is. What does that reveal to you? Does it reveal that you're anxious to know so you can be informed? Or is it actually a feeling that's telling you, I'm really nervous, I'm really anxious about staying well, staying healthy, surviving through this time, and therefore I really need to know. So either way, it doesn't work.
It doesn't. And I'll throw into that too, is your need to know to settle the part of you that is afraid you might be missing out on something, that you may not know something. And what we want to really encourage is that this, I'm going to come back to what you said, the spiritual alarm system, which is anxiety, may be asking you to look at your life from a different place. That we have been coming through a period of time which has really encouraged us to measure our success and to measure who we are by very strong external experiences. And maybe that's not what's really good for us. Maybe this is an opportunity, a lot of maybes there, but this is an opportunity to actually slow things right down and really consider what is good for you, the way you want to live your life. And that's an internal experience. That's something that asks you to listen inward and truly let go, if you can, of all of the external messages and pressures of what tells you you should be.
Anxiety also can be driven into deciding what you believe and focusing on that to the exclusion of all else. believe it or not, anxiety can sound like information. It can sound like you know what you're talking about, and it can sound like you're on the right side of the world. And, you know, we really have to be careful at this time, because we're vulnerable if we're anxious, and we're vulnerable to influence, and we're very vulnerable to seeing the world as a deep, dark place, when actually who we are at heart are
good.
Beautiful, good souls.
We're light. We're light.
We are light. And this is a time of turning to this energy in order to understand how to survive, how to navigate and live through changing time.
So, what's the antidote that we suggest? Well, it's one of calm. It's one where you start recognizing that in many ways anxiety is holding the absence, the energy that's missing from your life. You're experiencing this overload of adrenal energy, which sends into a spiral, a mental spiral, and can take you down all sorts of paths. And what we encourage is actually look for the space of calm, develop the space of calm, practice the space of calm. Give yourself a pause that engages in the energy of calm before you rush down any sort of reactive energy, before you even step into gaining information that you think might be supporting you. Really check in with how calm are you from this place first.
Remembering that we don't operate very well in this world only from our mind. We are more than just our mind. And it is very important to recognize that in a space of calm, we quickly become aware of what is real.
We become open to the soul presence of who we are. And this is really the big shift that's being invited for us at the moment, is to make sure that our actions, because they still have to be acted in life, they still have to be engaged in the world, what we do, how we experience ourselves. This is not about retreating into a cave in a hill somewhere, as tempting as that could be. This is about knowing that what you bring into the world is coming from this clear, calm space inside of you in response to what is often very distressing news, information, experiences.
So really take a moment to feel what creates calm for you. It might be that you need to leave social media alone for a period of time. It might be that you need to not listen to the news for a few hours. Go for a walk somewhere, sit quietly in meditation. Give yourself space to catch up with how you really feel. You'll very quickly discover awareness that's waiting to guide you, to speak to you in that place. That will settle a lot of the fears and anxieties. If it's something you need to address, something you're ignoring, not attending to, you will become very aware of it very, very quickly in a space of calm.
Even in this moment, take a breath and allow yourself to feel the immediate space that a conscious breath gives. This calm is not something that happens once you've got everything else in life sorted. It's not something we kind of get at the end of the day because we've got all the things off our list. Calm's actually waiting for us. It's actually a natural space inside that's accessible. But again, it asks you to really meet it by coming through your body, through your being, and through your breath.
And it is possible to create a sense of calm, to view the world, to view information from a place that you don't divide yourself into, that you remain whole, connected, loving, clear and strong, and can therefore see with greater perspective the choices you have and the way the world really is. And then you'll see how it is functioning and the great divisions that are occurring that create fears and anxieties personally and in the world really are seen for what they are.
I think that's what you just said is so important, that it's important that you don't feel divided in yourself, because that's where the beginning, that's where the split takes place. And we split ourselves from our feelings, from our mind, we split ourselves from our soul, we split ourselves from ourself. And when we engage in a lot of external information that's feeding a mental need, especially from anxiety, then we can feel compelled to make a split from the humanity that we're part of.
So trust in the calm that you can create. And if you find it difficult to feel calm, really breathe consciously. Perhaps be in water. Go and soak in warm water, have a warm shower. Be warm and comfortable. Comfort yourself. Perhaps your nervous system is exhausted and you really do need to fill up. Do whatever it takes until you find that calm place. The more you practice calm, the more averse you will feel to anything that stimulates anxiety or fear. And the more clearly you will recognize it, which is not denying reality or truth, but really giving you conscious ability to choose how to respond.
To remember that you're not missing out if you're not feeling an absolute sense of excitement and drive in life. This is not real living. This is the excitement that so many people associate life by. This will be a subject perhaps we can take in another video, but the calm brings us close to love, and it is a space which opens us, which in itself can feel vulnerable, but it asks us to trust, as you have so wisely said. So, anxiety, see it as a spiritual alarm system. What's it trying to get your attention for? And remember that calm is an antidote, but it's a practice.
And the more you practice calm, the less you will leave it.
So, until we get to talk to you again, stay close to yourselves and close to your feelings.
Stay calm. Bye for now.